At John chapter 13, verses 21 through 38. And Jesus is with his disciples on that fateful night of his betrayal. I mean, I've talked about that quite often lately. The chapters 13 through 17 are all that night of his betrayal. And in this part of what we read tonight, Jesus sends his betrayer out, and it begins in verse 21. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit. And I remember commenting just a couple of days ago in chapter 12, verse 27. Jesus says, "Now my soul is troubled." And what should I say? He knows what's going on. And here he's troubled in spirit again, because he knows that he has to send Jesus out to do the betrayal. And he tells his disciples, one of you will betray me. And they look at each other. I mean, can you imagine if you were one of Jesus' disciples there that night and Jesus says, one of you is going to betray me? You would be looking at each other and you would be wondering, could it be me? Could I happen? But they look around, and that's what it says. They look at one another, uncertain of whom Jesus was speaking. And John, was sitting next to Jesus and is motioned to by Peter to, ask him, who is it? And the response, the one who I serve this bread after I dip it, and he dips it and gives it to Judas, who is evidently right next to him. And it says in verse 27, after he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. And Jesus says, do quickly what you're going to do now. Well, remember in chapter 13, verse 2, yesterday, it says the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And after supper, Jesus knowing all things, and so it's all working according to what has to happen. And I mean, it just doesn't sit well with us at all, but it is what it is. And Judas goes out, and it says no one knew what was going on. And then after Judas has gone out, Jesus says to the others, now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God glorified in him. And by Jesus sending Judas out, I mean, that was part of Jesus' glory. That was part of, his glory is doing the will of God. I mean, it's just, it just seems so strange to us where Jesus' glory all comes from. And then verse 33 begins, little children. Jesus says to his disciples, little children. A term of endearment, but also, how would that make the disciples feel? Little children. I mean, Jesus has been teaching them, mentoring them, but we don't have to be children to learn. But, it's a term of endearment, and Jesus is recognizing that they are his followers. But again, it's, little children, I will be with you only a little while longer. Yeah, just a couple of days is all it's going to be. You will look for me, and what I say now, when I'm going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. And then this is how others will know who you are, that you show them love. People know, believe, see that we are Christians by our love. And again, it's that song where they'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love. They will know we are Christians by our love. And this is what Jesus is saying. And they hear that, but what the focus is on, they heard, I'm going away. And Peter, where are you going, Lord? Where are you going that I cannot come? I mean, it's just, that's what they heard, that I'm going away. Where are you going? And are you going to Spain? Are you going to, they're, in their minds, it's, another country or some, another city or whatever, because Jesus has been traveling as he's doing his ministry. But, Jesus says, where I'm going, you cannot come for now, but you will follow afterwards. And Peter's response, Lord, why can't I follow you? I will lay down my life for you. This absolutely positive, I don't want anything to separate us. I will lay down my life for you. I will protect you with my life. And, in the garden later, it's Peter that swings the sword and cuts off the ear of the slave, but he tries. But Jesus' statement again is, will you lay down your life? And then this, right after Peter says, I'll lay down my life for you, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. And we know that feeling as well. Just to put yourself in that position where Jesus says to you, you're going to deny me. And I think about how we live our lives, and do people see in us, Jesus every day? Do we, are we able to, live up to that verse 35? By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. And I think about our world today, and, if you have love for one another, and what do we see and what do we hear so much of is the rivalries between this person and that person, and wars in the countries, and all of the stuff going on. It's every day I see things against this political leader, things against that political leader. And is that showing love? Is that showing unity? Is that showing grace? Is that showing that we are children of God by these open displays of hate and of, we don't all believe and agree on so many different things. But one thing I hope we can agree on is that Jesus is Messiah and God is God, and that they would have us live better lives than we are living, and to get rid of the hate and the anger and all of that. And this is what Jesus says: you'll love one another as I have loved you, unconditionally. Think about how hard was it for Jesus to serve Judas that piece of bread? This is the same. We don't have Jesus saying, this is my body, take and eat, this is my blood shed for you in John's gospel. We don't have those words of institution that way, but Judas was served the bread and the wine in the other gospels. And how much love did Jesus have to have for Judas to serve him that bread and that wine? And to be able to love God. This is what Jesus did. He loved God enough that he could set Judas free to do the betrayal so that you and I would know the forgiveness that comes from God. The love that Jesus has for you and for me, the love that he has for God, to be able to do what he does, and to realize that what he's doing is for the glory of God. That he sends Judas out for the act of betrayal, that he stays with his disciples, that he continues to teach them. And just as, in verse 21, as we started today, my soul is troubled. And in chapter 12, verse 27, my soul is troubled. As much as all of this happens, right after Peter is told by Jesus that he will deny him, tomorrow begins with, do not let your hearts be troubled. And how can we not let our hearts be troubled? When Jesus is troubled and all of that, but he knows the pain that's coming. He knows the agony that's coming, but he knows it's for the glory of God. And he knows it's for the salvation of the lost. That's you and me. It's for our salvation that Jesus does all this. And so I just think about that. Love one another as I have loved you. And how much nicer place the world would be if we could each just show a little bit more love for one another.